Hi, this is Rabbi Adam Law. Today we're going to talk about the Parsha Behaloscha. It's the Parsha of this week, and it's in the Sefer Bamidbar, called Numbers, or more properly, in the wilderness. Parshas Behaloscha, the first thing it speaks about in the Parsha is the idea of the Menorah. So today we're going to talk about the Menorah and bring down a very special Torah from the Kedushas Levi, and a story from Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. Through these stories and through the Torah of the Kedushas Levi, Rabbi Levi Yitzhak of Berdichev, we're going to understand a little bit about the matter called Tzadikism, the idea the Hasidic movement brought to the forefront, that there is a special role for the Tsadik, the holy man. Of course, in Judaism, we've always had the concept of the holy man, all the way back from Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, the patriarchs. And they had holy women as well, of course, Sarah, Leah, Rachel, Rivka. But in the idea in Hasidus, which started with the movement founded by the founder of the Holy Baal Shem Tov, and he lived from around 1700 to 1760, some say 1698 was his actual birth date, the idea of the tzaddik came to the forefront. Before that time, the idea of the leader, the rabbi, was also a tzaddik, but also for a while, the idea of him being a scholar and somebody who was maybe sometimes separated from the people, sometimes not, had sort of come to the forefront. Tzaddikism brought the idea of the Rebbe, the tzaddik, that he was a leader of the people as his most important quality. While almost all the Rebbes were also tremendous Talmidei Chachmim, Torah scholars, the idea of the Rebbe was also of a charismatic bent, that they had a role of connecting to and fixing the souls of the people, that they were also like a spiritual counselor of the people, and they were also, so to speak, an intermediary between the people and God. Now that was already found by Moshe. We see that by Moshe as well. But the idea of the development of this idea of the tzaddik as the person who was a man of pure spirit and became somebody who was totally devoted to the people, it was not just a removed scholar, that is especially brought out in the Hasidic movement. So today, through the Parshas of Behaloscha, we're going to discover a little bit about what some of the early Rebbes had to say about the role of the tzaddik. Now, there's a debate among the different Rebbes, particularly the Baal Tanya, the founder of the Chabad of the Lubavitch movement, and Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, obviously who brought the Breslov movement, about what it takes for a person to be a tzaddik. According to the Tanya, he teaches that a person is basically born a tzaddik. The average person cannot really become a tzaddik. And then when it calls various people tzaddikim, like we say, this person's a tzaddik or this lady is a tzaddikis, that's really speaking in a more colloquial type of language. But someone who's the true tzaddik, the person who's planted specifically in the generation to guide the people, someone who has utterly destroyed their Yetzer Hara, their evil inclination, that is a special role that God assigns in the nation. There's more depth to that. Whether you can achieve that or not, generally the Tanya says the highest level a person can achieve is a Benoni, the middle person, which is a very high level in itself. Whereas Rabbi Nachman of Breslov has a vastly different approach. He believes that every person can become a tzaddik through hard work. And then even though he was the Anakol, the descendant of the Baal Shem Tov, he nevertheless said that everything he did, he worked on, and that anyone else could also work on this as well. So it might just be an argument over a definition of terms, but this is two of the basic ideas of tzaddikism. Now, the book that developed tzaddikism to the greatest degree was probably the book called the Noam Elimelech by Reb Elimelech of Lezhensk. And in the Poland in particular, the idea of the Hasidic court came through Reb Noam Elimelech, and then particularly in his follower, the Chose of Lublin, who also developed his own Hasidus in the lifetime of the Reb Elimelech. The Chose had a huge court of people who would follow after him, and he believed it was his job to fix and connect the souls of those who he worked with. Now, this idea is found in other sources as well, many other Sfarim, but it's found particularly in the works of Noam Elimelech, Kedushas Levi, and others. So today we're going to explore a Torah from the Kedushas Levi, speaking about the role of the tzaddik, and again we're going to say a story of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. First, I want to give the pesukim that we're dealing with here. It says, "V'diber Adonai al Moshe lemor." Diber el Aaron v'amarta elav v'haloscha es haneros el mul pnei hamenorah ya'iru shivas haneros. V'yas kein Aaron el mul pnei hamenorah he'ala nerosea kasher tziva Adonai es Moshe. V'zeh masa hamenorah miksha zahav ad yirecha ad pircha miksha hi kamara asher her'a Adonai es Moshe kenasa es hamenorah. God spoke to Moshe to say, speak to Aaron and say to him, when you're bringing up, the lights towards the face of the menorah, these 7 lights will be illuminated. Aaron did so towards the face of the menorah. He brought up the lights as God had commanded Moshe. This is the work of the menorah. It is beaten out of gold from its base until its flowers. It is completely beaten out, like the appearance which God showed Moshe. Thus is the making of the menorah. So, the question that many people bring up on this pasuk from the beginning of, and even the name of the parsha, Bahaloscha, is why does it say Bahaloscha in the bringing up of the lights? A better language would be Bahadlik, to light. We know when we say a bracha on Shabbos candles or the menorah for Hanukkah, we say Lahadlik ner Shabbos, Lahadlik ner Hanukkah. So why use this language of going up? Now we know that candles go up, fire goes up, but what is it specifically about going up that it needs to bring it here? So we're going to explain through a Torah of the Kedushas Levi. But first we're going to say a story. The story of Rabbi Nachman goes like this. It's a famous story. It's a story called The Turkey Prince. That the king had a prince. He had a son who he loved very much. And he was a very close son to him, and he, of course, wanted his son to follow in his ways, to be the next king. The problem was the prince didn't agree, and he was involved in all sorts of silly behavior. He would hang around with all sorts of regular people that really wasn't befitting of maybe the prince. He'd go from place to place. Basically, he acted like a turkey. He didn't act like a prince. As a matter of fact, he literally acted like a turkey. It got to the point where he actually took on his mindset of a turkey. And he would go under the table and he'd go gobble, gobble, gobble. So the different ministers would come to the meals of the king's house, and they would ask the king, where's your prince? Where's your fine son? And the king would say, oh, he'd be exasperated. And then you'd hear under the table, gobble, 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 and they'd be shocked. And there, pecking at their legs, was the prince, thinking he was a turkey. He'd eat any of the crumbs that would fall on the ground. He literally thought he was a turkey. He didn't even speak anymore. It was so far gone. Of course, this brought tremendous sadness, consternation to the king and the queen and the family, and what an embarrassment it was. However, he was the prince, and what were you going to do? The king loved him. He didn't want to get rid of his son. He didn't want to banish him to his room. He knew that he had to help his son. So he invited all the wise men of the land. And the wise men of the land came to visit the prince. And they came to visit the prince, and the king offered a reward. 1,000 pure gold pieces if you can cure my son. And they'd all come, and they'd stand above, and they'd see the prince, and they were shocked at such a sight. Someone who's so meshuggah as this prince who believed he was a turkey. He was the turkey prince. So they all tried the different things. One used philosophy and wisdom and psychology and tried to figure it all out. Tried to figure out why this happened. One was a doctor, looked into all the medical sources. Has he seen this in his book, in his DSM-5? They all looked into all the things. A magician came by, used magic spells, all sorts of things. They even brought a zookeeper in. None of these wise men were able to do anything, and they all walked away crestfallen. And the king and his wife got even more sad. One day, came knocking at the door an itinerant man. People didn't know that he was actually a very holy man because he walked around in simple clothes. He hung around with the regular people, but yet he was a tremendous scholar, a great saint, and a wonderful person. But the aristocratic king and the nobles who hung around him would never have known such a thing. So they brought the prince this man. The man had told everybody that I'm capable of healing the prince. They all laughed. We brought in the biggest doctors, the biggest professors. We brought in all these specialists. We can't heal the prince. How are we going to heal the prince? So they they said, well, what can we lose? Let's bring him in. So they brought him in. They brought in the simple man to come in. The simple man was not just a simple man. He was a great Tsadik. And there when he saw the prince, he asked everybody to leave the room. And the king said, okay. He's telling all the guards, put all the silverware and the goldware away. Put the goblets away. We don't know what this guy's going to do. He had no idea. But he said, what the heck? Why not? Let's just try. Let's get this guy to help. So this holy man went, and he went to the prince, and he said, hello, under there. And all he heard was, gobble, gobble, gobble. Hello? Gobble, gobble, gobble. He sat down at the table and started picking through some of the food that was left in there from lunch. And the turkey prince started pecking on his leg. So the simple man, the tzaddik, went and he said, this is something I haven't seen for a long time. Anyway, he went and he sat down under the table. He put the tablecloth over his head and sat down among all the crumbs and dust and sat there with the turkey prince. And what did he do? He stopped speaking. He started going, gobble, gobble, gobble. And the turkey prince would answer back, gobble, gobble, gobble. Turkey prince would eat some crumbs, and the simple man would eat some crumbs. They peck their nose up and down like a beak, and they would eat crumbs. They'd go gobble, gobble, gobble. They'd pick at each other, etc. And then the simple man went home. The next day he came in and he did the same thing. He went under the table, and there the turkey prince was. He slept under there. He ate under there. And this time the turkey prince was happy to see the simple man. And he started pecking on him right away and smiling. And it seemed like they already had a connection. And this went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. Finally, the turkey prince and the simple man were both under the table living there together. Of course, the king was shocked. This is their banquet hall. How can they have this? It's one thing to have this that has the prince there. He's a prince. But to have this other guy there, now we have two turkeys under the table. It was getting ridiculous. But nevertheless, the turkey prince and the simple man bonded. And one night, after weeks of this, the simple man said, gobble, gobble, gobble. And he turned to the prince. Then he said, gobble, gobble. You know what? Turkeys can sit in a chair. Gobble, gobble, gobble. And he hopped up on the chair. And he started pecking at the food on the plate, but it was from in a chair. Pretty soon, a few minutes later, the simple man had succeeded, and the turkey prince jumped up into the chair, and he said, gobble, 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 and he started pecking from the chair. The man left that night and came back the next day, and did the same thing again, but this time, the prince was already sitting in the chair. And he was saying, gobble, 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 and pecking at the plate. And this time, turkey prince said to the man, gobble, 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 and the man answered back, you know what? Who says that turkeys can't talk? And so he started talking to him, gobble, gobble, gobble. And then he started talking to him in regular language. And after a few minutes, the turkey prince also answered. And this went on and on. Next thing he told the prince, he says, who says turkeys can't wear regular clothes? Who says turkeys can't live in a bed? And they went up and up and up in level together until they both were returned to their original state. That's the story of the turkey prince by Rabbi Nachman. So the Torah that I'm going to say today by the Kedushas Levi, I think will shed light onto what this Torah story of Rabbi Nachman is really talking about. The Kedushas Levi in Parshas Pahaloscha, on that pasuk in the bringing up of the lights, he talks about the bringing up. He says, this is the matter. Ha'inyanhu, ki yesh lefamim tzadik nofel b'madregaso. Sometimes we find a righteous man, a tzaddik, who falls from his level. Ki Hashem yisbrach chafetz chesed. For Hashem, our God, may his name be blessed, he desires chesed, he desires kindness. V'kol nitzotzin shenafu ba'amkei klipos ritzona yisbrach she'alu v'yavdu esabora. And all these sparks of light, this holiness that God scattered throughout the world, that each one of us can redeem through our acts of mitzvahs and blessings in Torah, God wants them to be returned to him. The idea of this holy sparks is an idea found in Kabbalah and Hasidus. It's an important ancient idea that God scattered holy sparks throughout the world. And when we do good things, again, we have the opportunity to bring it up. That's what it means by it says here that God wants chesed. He wants kindness. And he said, and this is actually a very big secret. Different Rebbes, the Noam Elimelech and the Kedushas Levi, as well as the Toldos Yaakov Yosef, yes, Tolos Yaakov, Yosef, they all deal with the question. If the tzaddik is such a high level, such a spiritual, pristine level, how come it can be sometimes that we see that tzaddik hangs around with people who aren't in that high level, or uses language or does other things which don't seem appropriate to a man, a saintly man, a man of that status? So here the Kedushas Levi says, sometimes a tzaddik falls. He's not always on that level. Azhu kimat makom nitzotzin. And he finds himself in this place, this dark place, where these little sparks of light are hidden everywhere. Ubivadaya tzaddik kavar nikshar kesher amitz b'shorsh elyon. The tzaddik is someone who behaves in the highest, most spiritual ways. And so for sure, he tied himself a rope to the upper worlds. Meaning is, even though it looks like sometimes the righteous person, the tzaddik, falls to a lower level, the truth is he's always tied to the upper levels. The Holy Sfarim say, if you're going to jump into a pit, tie a rope to a tree. So that's what the tzaddik does. For sure, he's attached to the higher levels. But he has to sometimes go down to this lower level. Why? But when he goes back up again, he's going to go back up with greater strength. The climb back up again increases his strength. The fall makes him understand more about the nature of the world and himself. And when he gets back up again and does tshuva, he goes to a much higher level. As it says in the Gemara in Yuma, that somebody who falls and does tshuva, who returns, that person will be complete tzaddik. He will return all his averas, the hard things he did, the bad things he did. These will become righteous for him. But this is the thing. When the guy goes down and falls into the pit, whatever he collects down there also, he'll bring back up with him. Maybe he finds these things that have been lost in the pit for a long time. He'll bring them up. And he says, this is why our pasuk says, when Aaron Cohen lights the lights, the menorah, he brings them up. Why was it lahalik to light them? It was ba'aloscha. It was to bring them up. Hainu ba'aloscha hanitzotzin. That when the tzaddik, when Aaron Cohen, when the righteous person falls to this lower level, it's only for the purpose to bring up what fell down there also, these holy sparks. El munul pnei ha-menorah. He brings it towards the center of the menorah. The language of pnei means pana, to turn. Kasher yifnu nitzotzin el menorah. What he does is he causes everything that fell to go back up with him. Then all the lights are lit. It's not enough for the tzaddik just to do good himself. Everyone has to do good. We have to share the light of spirituality, of Torah, with everybody. So he has to bring up everybody with him. So this answers the question of why would it be, according to the Kedushas Levi, that a tzaddik, a righteous person, would fall. We would see him on a lower level. And that's in order to collect and attach to those other people who fell down on that level with him. When he is on that lower level, when he connects to the people that might be seemingly below his station, and he returns back up to his previous level, he actually collects and elevates all those people who were there at the lower level and brings them back up. He doesn't just stay in his ivory tower, passing Torah on and seeming judgment onto others. Rather, he connects with the people at their level. And then when he is going back to his upper level, he brings them up with him. Everything he collected, all the lessons and all the people and everything he brought, he brings up from the bottom. And that's what it means, when he brings up the lights. The highest lights are those which are lit in the darkness. That is where the most beautiful light is. We don't need to light a light in a lit room. The bringing up of the lights is the bringing up the tzaddik's connection to the people and his ability to elevate them. And this is the secret of Kedushas Levi's approach to tzaddikism, that the tzaddik is a man of the people, a very holy man, but one who's also very deeply and intimately connected to the people. And going back to our story, this was why the simple man was able to connect to the Turkey prince. Everybody else was above him with their sciences and psychology and judgment. No one wants to connect to somebody like that. But when somebody goes down to the level where the person's at, that is where they have the ability to connect. That is why the Turkey prince was able to be brought up by the simple man, because the simple man didn't put himself above him. He came down with him and then slowly rose up and brought the Turkey prince up with him. So we see that Rabbi Nachman has the same approach as a Kedushas Levi in the reason why the tzaddik, the righteous person, falls to the lower level is always to be able to bring up those who fell down. Ad Khan, these are the Torahs of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov and the Kedushas Levi, and the secret of why sometimes the Tsadik falls. And we learned this out from the Pasuk in Behaloscha. Everyone should have a wonderful Shabbos. Thank you very much. This is Rabbi Adam Law. Be well.